Oh my god, hey! Oh my god, hey! My name's Mickey Jo and I like theatre, shows, plays. Plays would have rhymed. Honestly, that could have gone a lot worse. Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my stagey YouTube channel. If you're meeting me for the first time, hello! My name is Mickey Jo and I am obsessed with all things theatre. I'm also an independent freelance professional theatre critic here in the UK, and I am a stagey YouTuber and content creator. And finally, I am bringing you my full review of... Where is it? Do I have to stand all the way up? This is a very large t-shirt. Excuse me. Woo! There it is. Fisherman's Friends. We're talking all things Fisherman's Friends, the musical today. Now, I first saw this show back in like the summer of last year, and I tweeted about how great it was, and I hadn't been planning to review it then because it was just a recreational theatre visit. I wasn't going specifically to review. I hadn't been invited. We had bought tickets, and so it was a recreational theatre trip. Those happen sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. And I had, a low bar of expectation. I didn't know if this was going to be for me, because I didn't know about anything Fisherman's Friends or Fisherman's Friends adjacent. I hadn't heard the music, I hadn't seen the films, and honestly I didn't think this was my demographic. But I thought, we'll have a charming time and we'll see what it's about. I loved this so much when I saw it in Birmingham. I was like, I have to talk about this on the internet. I have to tell you guys how great it is, because I think this could win an Olivier someday. So then I was like, I'm definitely going to do a video. I'm definitely going to do a review. And then time passed and I didn't. For which I apologise. I did let you know that it was one of my favourite shows of the last year when I did my end of year roundup, but now, thank goodness, I've had the chance to go back to the show in a professional capacity. The team at Richmond Theatre were kind enough to invite me to go and review the show as press, so I saw it literally this evening. It did mean I got to wear my merch to the show, like the hardcore Fisherman's Friends fan that I am. So I've now had the chance to see the show a second time, which means I have brushed up on all of the exciting details of things that I love about it, and I'm going to be able to tell you today. So get ready, because we are about to set sail on my full review of Fisherman's Friends, the musical. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe to my stagey YouTube channel for plenty more video content. There are 2 links in the description. The first one is to become one of my YouTube members to gain access to some exclusive content. It's just £2.99 a month. The other is to sign up for a free account to ShowScore so that you can review and score shows for yourself either in London or New York. Now, let's talk about Fisherman's Friends. So here it is. If you know nothing about this whatsoever, let me tell you a little bit of what Fisherman's Friends is about. So this chronicles the true story of a sea shanty singing group who are all working fishermen living in Port Isaac in Cornwall. This really happened. They went on to have enormous music success, and it's such a fantastic sort of a rags to riches success story that it was also adapted for film. That film now also has a sequel. They're very well known here in the UK, though not necessarily my demographic. But this is a theatricalization of their story, and so we get plot and we get tension and we get drama and charm and comedy and romance using the music that they have popularized, using these sea shanties, as well as, did I just say shanties? Shanties, sea shanties. So you could kind of think of this as a jukebox musical. In a way, it's kind of like those biopic jukebox musicals, like Beautiful or like Jersey Boys. I would say about half of the songs are sung in a way that is diegetic. That means the characters are actually singing, as in they are singing, they're doing one of their music performances, and then the other half of the songs are sung just to articulate the characters' emotions, and they're not really singing within the real lives of those characters. And so it sort of transcends the narrative and becomes a little bit more theatrical, which I like. I like jukebox musicals that can do both of those things and use their music powerfully. So I gave you a little bit of a brief overview of the plot. We are introduced to them in their local village. We get a sense of their community, of their relationships to each other. We get to meet this community of characters. It's a bit like Come From Away in that sense, with this ensemble cast. And this is all disrupted by the arrival of Danny Anderson, who comes from the music industry and is visiting from London. He stumbles across an impromptu performance that the band Fisherman's Friends are giving, and he becomes hugely enamored with the sound that they are making. And then the rest of the plot unfolds. And like I said, a little bit of romance, a little bit of tension, a little bit of drama, many events, probably slightly more happens with the plot in the second act. Most of the first act is spent building up what is going to unfold, and then the second act actually tugs on your heartstrings a lot more aggressively. But I don't want to spoil too much for you. You will have to go and see it for yourselves. But what do I actually think of the show? Stay tuned to find out. So this for me is a 5-star production. I was so bowled over by it when I first saw it. I wasn't expecting it to have so much heart and so much sincerity and be so well written. It just has every single ingredient you need for stage success, and particularly with a British audience. I think this is such a great artistic show and a commercial show at the same time, and it's great when something can be both, because that's just going to speak to such an amount of success. I think this show is going to do so well. Let me tell you a little bit about why and about some of those ingredients that make it so fantastic. So at the heart of it, you have this really compelling story, and it's a really British story. It's the kind of thing that we love to see on stage. We love like a Billy Elliot, we love like a Bake Off moment. We love to see these ordinary people in these moments of discovery and rising to success. And we love those sort of magic moments where they discover that they can do more than they had realized that they had dreamed of, and dreams being achieved. Those are really great stories. The whole thing is inspirational and uplifting, but also down to earth and sincere. And on many levels, knowing that so much of it is based on the real lives of this band and these people makes it all the more authentic and genuine as well, and that makes it a lot more special, I think. Let's talk about the music. So much of the music is traditional sea shanties, and you wouldn't have necessarily thought that that would work in a musical, and I've been critical on here before about musicals that utilize pre-written songs and not bespoke scores because they don't articulate the feelings of the characters well enough, and the book is so strong in this. And the music, where it's used diegetically, you know, it doesn't matter what the lyrics are that they're singing because they're just singing within the context of the show. And in the others, the way that they are framed creatively, it's so clear by and large what they're meaning. I think the music really works. It's striking and rich and emotive and poetic. Each song that is utilized absolutely serves each moment so faithfully. And they are underpinned by an absolutely exceptional book from Amanda Whittington. She captures the different voices of these characters so well. She captures the contrast between these Cornish natives and their sort of playful comic indifference, and she captures the brashness of this London interloper. The whole thing has so much whimsy and a phenomenal amount of heart. And I just like the way that this story is framed. When I first saw this, every single time I was beginning to doubt it and think, oh, I really wish if they'd go in this direction, they would. And everything I wanted them to do kept happening. And it was just a really satisfying plot where you know certain things are going to happen that you wish wouldn't, but then the way that they are then navigated and dealt with, it's just really satisfying. It's just a really fun and uplifting watch, and that's something I really appreciate. I also think a tremendous amount of this show's success lies at the feet of its creative team, so let's take a moment to talk about the creative contributions to this show. So this production has been directed by James Grieve, and I think it is just masterful. The staging of this is so brilliant. It opens with them on board this boat that's at sea being tossed around by the waves. The way that they achieve this with this really quite simple set piece being pulled from side to side with ropes. There's no automation, there's no projections. It's just honest and brilliant storytelling. It's very, very clever how they do that and how that then becomes a part of the set. The set itself is beautiful and very, very clever. So you have this sort of a seawall amphitheatre with different levels, with these sort of like glass panes at the background through which there is lighting to show the different times of day. But there are so many little clever features within this set. There are pulleys and there are buoys, as in B-U-O-Y-S, that then also get illuminated and they become lights in a different scene. The set and the lighting, both phenomenal. So many moments I was so immersed in the show, but I just took a moment to think, oh my gosh, I'm loving the lighting at this point as well, the way that they would show a sunrise colour, the way that they would depict a storm. They do some incredible things with torches that are heartbreaking. Like, there's so many incredible lighting details. There's a moment in the second act that I'm going to tell you is one of the highlight moments of the show, and the lighting for that, so much fun. But the way that they can bring out a whole bar scene, because we are in and out of this bar. We are back at the seafront, and then we're at the bar, and then we go to London. There's a lot of travelling, and how they can use a static set with different pieces to show all of that. There's a little bit of come-from-away-isms with using various different boxes to show, like, oh, we're on a bus, and now we're sort of sitting by the Thames and these different locations, but very, very clever. So I've told you James Grieve was the director. Matt Cole is credited here for choreography, who you may know from Newsies. Very different show to this one. The set and costumes, which I also enjoy very much. It's subtle costume work, but it's very clever the way that they are all matched as the Fisherman's Friends in black and white, or sort of like a navy blue and white. So set and costume was by Lucy Osborne, and the lighting was by Joanna Town. Phenomenal work to everybody. And I do want to talk about the musical team as well. So musical supervision and arrangements were by David White. A fantastic job has been done with these songs. And the original musical director was James Findlay, and the associate musical supervisor, Benjamin Cox. Bravo to everyone. I mean, as with any creative team, there are so many names here, and I think the whole thing is just a creative triumph, and everyone should be very, very proud. Another of my favourite things that this show does, you have the band on stage, but so involved in the production. I think the band actually understudy and do little bits of dialogue where needed. Yeah, so the band members here are also credited with roles. They move in and amongst the cast, and you hear the band sing a couple of times. It's like Come From Away in that sense, in that moment where the band come forwards and play in Screech. But I'd say the band are even more immersed in the story of Fisherman's Friends, and that's fantastic because it's all about a celebration of this music, and the music that the band are playing, it's so authentically Cornish and this folky sound, it's just brilliant. Fun little known fact about me, I was taken to many folk festivals as a child, so I vibe with that very much, very much. Let's talk about my favourite moment of the show. So I think the second act is even stronger than the first, and I enjoy the first act, but the second act has some really stunning parts. My favourite is just a really fun moment near the top of the second act where the Fisherman's Friends band have been brought to London by Danny, and he leaves them to their own devices in Soho on Old Compton Street, and when he returns he finds them in the nearest pub that they could find, which is a different type of establishment to the one they might perhaps be used to. They're in a gay bar, living it up and singing a sea shanty, and the way that this number is staged with them having this riotous fun and kind of limboing under a feather boa that someone ends up wearing, and they're just having a great time. It's so wholesome, it's so funny, the audience laps it up, it gets this huge applauding response, and from a musical perspective, the way that they mash up the sea shanty that they are singing with In the Navy and then do a kick line, brilliant, genius, perfection. One number that leaves me slightly quizzical, and it's still a breathtaking moment, and this might be the moment that people genuinely leave the theatre and say was their favourite. There is a song that a character called Olwen sings, and we are going to talk about her momentarily, but she is singing this solo and she's joined on stage by the rest of the ensemble cast, and the way that it's staged and with the lights and with this choral arrangement underneath her, it's so powerful, but it's one of the vaguer storytelling moments in the show, and the rest of it is all quite straightforward and clear. So that I find a little bit strange, because it just seems as though we've lost a little bit of clarity in that moment. She's just had a little bit of a brief argument with her dad, and in that moment, I don't know if she is like trying to keep up hope that something is going to happen, and then by the end of the song she's given up hope. I don't know if she is feeling sort of torn between two different places and between two different obligations. This may make more sense to you if you've seen the show, but I don't know exactly where she is in that moment. It looks stunning, it sounds stunning. I wish I had a clearer sense on what it actually meant. That's the only moment where I think the storytelling is a little bit fuzzy, but I don't know that that will necessarily matter to everyone. Not everyone needs as consistent clarity as much as I seem to cling to. so I can put it off no longer. I think we should talk about the cast, don't you? So, there are some brilliant talents in this, and it's one of those casts like a Come From Away. I keep drawing comparisons because I think, while the content may not be the same, the vibe of the show feels inseparably similar to me. I do think that the two have this similarity. James Gaddis plays Jim. He's this sort of stern father figure who was left by his wife some years ago and has clearly never gotten over it. I'm obsessed with his singing voice. He has this gravel to his voice when speaking and singing that just makes his delivery just so stern and forceful, and I'm fascinated by it, by the way he sings through it. It's an incredible voice. Jason Langley plays Danny, who arrives from London. He does a really fantastic job. It's this really endearing performance as he finds himself being changed by the world that he has discovered and by this community and how it affects him more than he was expecting for it to. He arrives incredibly obnoxious, and you really root for him by the end of the show, and that's a difficult thing for him to achieve as an actor. That's very much a tribute to his performance. Then we arrive at Parissa Shamir, who plays Olwyn. Now, Olwyn is the daughter of the character I first mentioned to you, and she's sort of the most significant female character in the show. And Parissa Shamir is such a talent in this role. Her singing voice is incredible. Like, she could just readily be launched into the music industry as a singer-songwriter on the back of this show. She is formidable, but also her acting performance is just wonderful, and the things that she has to contend with in this show, the things that she explores, like trauma from the past and then a new trauma from the present, and you see her dealing with romantic possibilities and dealing with different relatives and sort of getting frustrated with her father and so many different things. It's wonderfully characterized. It's beautifully sung. She might be the great standout performance from this show. She is really fantastic, and I cannot say it enough. And the other favourite performance that I have in this cast is by Robert Duncan, who plays Jago. So he is Olwyn's grandfather, the father of the guy that I first mentioned. So we have 3 different generations of this one family being portrayed in the show. And he is so funny. He's so charming. He has this zest for life. He leads the band. He's called their shanty man. He's got a beautiful arc throughout the show, and he just has this wonderful warmth and presence. And he also has the loveliest, warmest chemistry with his onstage wife, Susan Penhaligon. She is just fantastic, and she has so much charm and so much wit and mirth. She's a brilliant character. 2 more I want to mention, and I really could talk about every single member of this cast because it is a true ensemble effort. But Dan Buckley, I think, is wonderful and has some really genuine, heartbreaking moments in this show as well, and he's particularly fun to watch in all of the group numbers, especially in that number I mentioned before in the second act. I love him so much in that part. And another one who always gets a lovely little comic aside and gets some brilliant one-liners is Pete Gallagher, who plays a character called Leadville, another one of the Fisherman's Friends. He's hilarious and brings so much personality to his performance. So who do I think would enjoy this show? Honestly, I feel like everyone can enjoy this show. I think this is such a brilliant British show. I saw it in Birmingham and the audience loved it. Like, huge reaction. I saw it tonight in Richmond. Very different audience, very different vibe. And this is a show that's openly quite critical of the London lifestyle, and they loved it. I think if you're at all a fan of the film, you're going to love this. I think if you like shows like Come From Away, you're going to love this. If you liked The Great British Bake Off, you're going to love this. It has so much heart and so much warmth, and it works for all generations, because I wasn't expecting this to play so well to me. I thought this was going to be a great show for an older generation, and I'm sure they would love it. But also, I recommended this so fast to my parents. I recommended this to friends. I think everyone would love Fisherman's Friends. It has so much going for it, and I defy anyone to leave this show disappointed, honestly. I could quite happily recommend this to anyone. It has a few more tour dates left, and then I am hoping that at some point it manages to transfer to the West End. I am manifesting this for the Fisherman's Friends, because I do think that this show is capable of winning an Olivier. Honestly, this feels like the kind of Olivier Award winning musical to me. I think it's a brilliant new British musical, the likes of which we don't see very regularly. So those have been my thoughts about Fisherman's Friends, the musical, currently on tour around the UK. If you have had the chance to see this show on one of its UK tour stops, or if you got to see the tour when it travelled to Canada, let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my Stagey YouTube channel. And if you want access to some bonus content, don't forget that you can join as a YouTube member at the link in the description for just £2.99 a month. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm MickeyJoTheatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!